Welcome to today's deep dive. So imagine trying to solve a nationwide energy crisis,
Right.
but instead of building massive nuclear reactors or, sprawling solar farms, you just use the hot water heaters hiding in millions of everyday homes.
I mean, it sounds a bit like science fiction, right? But that's exactly the strategy outlined in an internal proposal we are looking at today. It's from Power Pulse Innovations.
Yeah, and their mission here is just incredibly ambitious. They want to completely end South Africa's daily blackouts, which are known as load shedding.
Yeah, and those blackouts are really bleeding their economy dry.
hmm
We're talking to the tune of 50 million rand every single hour.
It's crazy. So GridGuard, which is this proposed tech solution, claims it can eliminate the whole problem without building a single expensive new power plant.
Exactly. And, it relies entirely on managing the power that is already flowing into people's homes.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because if they aren't generating more power, they obviously must be cutting it, right?
Mhm.
Normally, when a utility needs to save the grid, they use this sledgehammer approach. They use ripple control and just shut everyone's water heaters completely off.
Right, which leaves you taking a cold shower. But GridGuard's proposal takes a completely different approach. What's fascinating here is their patented cycle-limiting technology.
Okay, cycle limiting. How does that actually work?
So their hardware sits directly on the water heater, or geyser, as they call it over there, and it independently monitors the grid's electrical frequency. A healthy grid in South Africa runs at exactly 50 hertz.
And I'm guessing if, say, everyone turns on their stoves at 6 p.m., that baseline frequency starts to struggle.
Precisely. Think of the power grid like a bicycle, right? Being pedaled at a steady 50 RPM.
Okay.
If a million people suddenly jump on the back, which represents that massive spike in power demand, the pedaling bogs down and the RPM drops.
Right.
If that frequency drops just a fraction, down to like 49.8 hertz, a cohort of a million GridGuard units detects it and reacts in under a second.
Wow, under a second. But they don't just shut off.
Nope. They reduce the power draw by 20 to 50% using what's called zero voltage switching.
Wait, zero voltage switching? Is that just like a fancy way of saying they chop the power in half?
Well, not exactly. I mean, AC power moves in continuous waves. If you just chop the power mid-wave, you create these micro spikes.
Oh, and those damage hardware over time.
Exactly. Zero voltage switching waits for the exact millisecond. The voltage wave naturally hits zero to toggle the power. So it protects the grid infrastructure while actually reducing the load.
Ah, I see. So instead of utility companies using that sledgehammer to just smash the power off completely,
Right.
this is more like putting the whole neighborhood on a smart dimmer switch.
That's a great way to put it.
But wait, if you're throttling the power to my water heater by 50%, you're basically guaranteeing I take a freezing shower before work, right?
You'd think so, but that is the beauty of the system. The water is actually still heating, just slightly slower. Yeah, it might introduce, say, a 5 to 10 minute delay in reaching the absolute maximum temperature inside the tank. But for the consumer, it's completely unnoticeable. You still get your hot shower, but the grid survives without a blackout.
Okay, so the technology is virtually invisible to the homeowner. But who is actually paying for all this? Because retrofitting millions of homes sounds like a financial nightmare for the utility company.
You would think so, but the math here is just wild. The proposal outlines a scenario for deploying 3 million units, which actually provides enough managed load to prevent stage 3 load shedding entirely.
Okay, 3 million units. How much does that run them?
Installing those 3 million units cost just under 6.75 billion rand.
Which is a massive upfront check to write.
It is, yeah. Until you remember the cost of the problem. Like we said, blackouts cost the South African economy 40 billion rand every single year.
Wow.
By keeping the grid stable and avoiding those blackouts, the system literally pays for itself in 7 days. That's a 1,633% return on investment.
7 days. That is incredible. And, to get that same amount of load relief by increasing supply, like, say, building a new power station, you're looking at spending 150 billion rand.
Easily.
And waiting at least 10 years for construction. Meanwhile, this GridGuard rollout takes just 36 months.
It really proves a vital point for anyone looking at, urban planning or tech investment. Managing demand is drastically cheaper, faster, and just more efficient than increasing supply.
Yeah.
They're using this decentralized hardware to turn millions of isolated appliances into a massive, responsive safety net.
It really is a brilliant way to stabilize a national grid and without disrupting daily life. But I mean, it does leave us with something to chew on.
Oh, definitely.
If we're moving toward a future where utility companies can remotely throttle our private home appliances for the greater good of grid stability, where exactly do we draw the line on privacy and the ownership of our own devices?
Yeah, it's a huge question.
Something for you to think about the next time you turn on the tap. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.